On the 24th of June 1947, Kenneth Arnold, an American aviator and a businessman, was flying near Mount Rainier in Washington state. He was searching for a transport plane that had gone missing in the area. He ended up seeing something extraordinary and strange, a series of 9 unusual objects flying in a V formation. He estimated their speed to be 2,700 kilometers per hour, 3 times faster than any aircraft at that time. He said they were moving side to side, occasionally flipping and darting around, and looked like saucers skipping on water. The news of his sightings hit the US media. The pilot had all the makings of a reliable witness, but the details of his observations were twisted. Media reports said he had encountered flying saucers. This was perhaps one of the biggest misquotes in history, but the term flying saucer became a household name in America. Soon everyone was scanning the skies for flying saucers. Reports started coming in from all over the world. There were nearly 853 flying disc sightings in 1947 alone. And they grew with time. This obsession turned into pop culture. It became fodder for Hollywood films, which linked the phenomenon with aliens. Now we call them UFOs, unidentified flying objects. Are they indeed extraterrestrial, controlled by visitors from another world? These questions have haunted our imagination for decades. We may now be one step closer to finding an answer. Hello and welcome to Gravitas Plus. I'm Palki Sharma Upadhyay. NASA is getting serious about UFOs. The new chief of the American Space Agency has asked scientists to investigate the existence of unidentified flying objects. This comes exactly 1 year after the US Department of Defense released 3 declassified videos. They showed US Navy pilots encountering what appeared to be UFOs. It was the first time the Pentagon formally acknowledged the existence of such videos. Now, lawmakers from all stripes are pushing hard for answers. Both Republicans and Democrats, who agree on almost nothing, have set aside their differences and are asking in one voice. What exactly is all the unexplained stuff flying in their airspace? A Pentagon report on this should be out any day now. NASA, too, has promised to find some answers. Let's tell you what we know. Starting with the object itself, what is a UFO? An unidentified flying object, a term that was coined by the US Air Force in 1953. They used it to describe any aircraft they cannot easily identify or explain. Now, this term is fairly new, but the concept dates back millennia. For thousands of years, people have reported seeing strange lights and objects flying through the skies. The first known mention is from 440 BCE in ancient Egypt, when the scribes of Pharaoh Thutmose III reported fiery discs floating in the skies. Then in 218 BCE, the Roman Republic recorded several sightings of phantom ships gleaming in the sky. In Christianity, there's a painting depicting the crucifixion of Jesus Christ, which shows 2 UFOs at the top corners. Neither of the pilots have a halo around them, which discards the possibility of them being divine beings. And in India, the earliest reference goes back to 10,000-year-old rock paintings found in the Bastar region of Chhattisgarh. Archaeologists say these paintings depict UFOs like those shown in films. Now, these references and paintings are proof that UFOs have fascinated mankind since ancient times. But there's no evidence to suggest that they belong to otherworldly beings. It's just a paradigm that some of us have willfully embraced. And when I say some of us, I mean Hollywood. It has always loved aliens because there's money in aliens. Silver screen saucers make for good content. They sell tickets. Even more when they're placed in real-life contexts. In the 1950s, films like The Day the Earth Stood Still and Invasion of the Body Snatchers channeled the Cold War paranoia. Today, movies like Men in Black, Independence Day, and The Avengers are used to depict the scourge of global terrorism. In some movies, aliens and UFOs are considerate. They come in peace. In some others, they come to annihilate the human race. They make for good cinema, no doubt, but they've also sensationalized the topic to such an extent that most people have started believing that aliens are really visiting us. Where do these most people live? Where else? The United States of America. A 2019 Gallup survey showed that 33% of American adults believe that aliens in UFOs have been visiting Earth. Another survey in the same year, nearly 50% said that successive American governments have been hiding something about UFOs.
President Obama says that there is footage and records of objects in the skies. What do you think that it is?
I would ask him again. Thank you.
But how many Americans have seen a UFO? According to America's National UFO Reporting Center, there have been at least 90,000 sightings since 1905, with an average of 6 sightings per day, and some of them at the same time in the exact same place. On the 31st of October 2004, 77 people reported seeing a UFO in Chicago, Illinois. September 19, 2009, 75 people reported seeing a UFO in Burlington, New Jersey. Interestingly, most of these sightings happened on weekends and at a time when most people were believed to be drunk. Look at this graph. It depicts all UFO sightings between 2000 and 2014. Most of them happened during drinking hours. Now, we are not suggesting that everybody was drunk, but the timing and the rate of alcohol consumption, the states they were reported in, is often used to reject the claims. So what did these people see? In most cases, what they believed were UFOs turned out to be planes, clouds, or weather balloons, or celestial events like meteors and planets that seemed unusually bright. Most of these can be scientifically explained, and yet there are some unresolved mysteries. In 1954, a football match in Florence, Italy was disrupted. After unidentified objects were spotted above the stadium, tens of thousands saw something in the sky. What was it? Most testimonies say it looked like an egg-shaped object which glittered as it fell from the sky. Then, in 1966, around 350 children and teachers at a school in Melbourne, Australia, saw 5 planes surround a silver flying saucer. The planes tried to aerially herd the object for 20 minutes before it disappeared. Now, these were just a few examples. There are many, many more. A French UFO research group says that 3.5% of all UFO sightings remain unidentified and defy all explanations. 3.5% is not a small figure, especially not when you look at the kind and scale of investigations that have been carried out to find answers. America has conducted a total of 12 government-funded investigations on unidentified flying objects. Project Blue Book, Project Grudge, Project Serpo, Project Sign, Project Silverbug, to name a few. The United Kingdom has carried out 2 secret studies into UFOs: the Flying Saucer Working Party and Project Condign. The Soviet Union had dedicated an organization to investigate UFO sightings, Institute 22. It functioned for a total of 13 years. Now, besides the fact that they all got suspended, what's common between all these probes is that all of them concluded that UFOs do exist. And there is no evidence to suggest that they're hostile. Some said they could probably be extraterrestrial beings that have no interest in making contact with humans. Some others said that they were made by humans who had learned how to manipulate the laws of physics and are yet to reveal their intentions. But these were all suggestions. None of the probes could find out exactly who and what was operating these objects. Now, here's the thing. The universe, as we know, is unfathomable. It stretches some 93 billion light years. It has 2 trillion galaxies, each shining with millions of stars and dotted with more planets than you could count. Given all of this, it seems unlikely that we are alone. Yet we found nothing to suggest otherwise. Scientists, real scientists, have spent a lifetime searching for signs of other civilizations. Some concede that we've got the cosmos to ourselves. Some highly doubt that's the case. But none of them have said that aliens are visiting us in UFOs, and even if they were, they won't be so considerate to just pass by stadiums and rooftops on weekends. But then again, good science takes time, and the human desire for scientific advancement is insatiable. Just this month, a group of international scientists in Seoul discovered links between galaxies, hidden bridges that are made up of dark matter. They've even built a map to understand how these bridges work. Once they figure out how to navigate this map, perhaps we'll be able to see if any UFOs are passing through. Until then, read The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, fabulous book, the funniest piece of science fiction ever. And let's just assume that aliens are benevolent beings, perhaps already living among humans, trying to play peekaboo with their UFOs.
To the U.S. government know about UFOs? The Pentagon is releasing a report on that very question later this month. And suddenly, everyone from senators to scientists to presidents to journalists are talking seriously about a topic once thought to be more science fiction than actual science. NBCNews.com senior politics reporter Alex Seitz-Wald joins me now. And Alex, you've been reporting on the excitement around this upcoming Pentagon report, where everybody from scientists to people who you might typically think of as conspiracy theorists are celebrating the lift of what's called the truth embargo. About a third of Americans think we've been visited by alien spacecraft, according to a recent Gallup poll. So what are some of the people you spoke to expecting from this Pentagon report?
Yeah, Garrett. Well, first of all, what's not expected in this report is, spoiler alert, aliens. The U.S. government is not going to come out and say we've had contact with aliens. I'm very sorry. But what we're kind of expecting is basically a document dump from across the government of files that they've collected over about 2 decades from something like 120 different sightings of what is accurately described as unexplained aerial phenomenon. So these could be weather patterns, these could be camera optical effects, these could be potentially spy craft by foreign governments like Russia or China, that, you know, some new advanced technology that we don't know about, or potentially it could be aliens even. But basically what everyone is excited about, that I was really struck by, from the believers who, you know, think the aliens are here to the hardcore skeptics who spend their whole time debunking that stuff, is they think it's good that we're finally having this conversation in the open, and we can try to understand these unexplained phenomenon, because so far this has just been not taken seriously. It's been totally ridiculed, even though we have people like Navy pilots, former CIA directors coming forward and saying, yeah, there are things that we don't really understand.
I had a very serious conversation with Marco Rubio about this in a Senate hallway not that long ago. You spoke to some scientists for this story, too, who noted that some of our biggest scientific discoveries come from investigating things that were weird or misunderstood. I think the idea is that even if we don't get firm answers from the Pentagon, we can learn something by looking and by asking questions about all this, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. That basically, you know, science is a process of discovery, and to just foreclose an entire area of investigation and say there's no purpose in looking into that, that's not, you know, how we learn anything. And yeah, you can go through the history of science and find all kinds of examples of this. Like, you know, scientists didn't think meteorites actually came from space until the early 1800s, or naturalists coming back from Africa to, say, London in the, you know, 1700s would talk about these animals with 15-foot long necks, and no one believed them. They were giraffes, of course. So the idea is, you know, if we have more cameras, more sensors, we have all this new technology, if we use this, we might discover some really rare weather phenomenon or some rare Earth-based phenomenon that we don't know anything about, or some enemy, you know, spy craft that we don't know anything about. And it's probably good, if there's things that we don't understand, to understand what they are.
Well, the truth is out there. It just may be mundane. Alex, right. Some of the people you spoke to are totally convinced that the government is covering up evidence of extraterrestrial life. Can you talk about the consequences of people thinking there's a government cover-up? And can a Pentagon report dispel the belief that this is a cover-up if people are convinced the government's lying about this anyway?
Well, to answer your second question, no. I mean, this is people who believe this are going to continue to believe this. But I think it's a really great question and a great point, because, you know, we're at a moment right now where conspiracy theories have gone totally mainstream, where distrust of the government is at an all-time high. And this is one place where, you know, the government has actually legitimately covered stuff up in the past. In the 50s and 60s, at the beginning of the Cold War, American civilians started seeing U.S. spy planes that they didn't recognize. And the government had an official policy where they would deny that what people saw. They would try to create ridicule around this. This is, you know, proven through declassified documents. So there has been in the past, at least, an actual government cover-up. It just wasn't covering up aliens; it was covering up secret American spy planes. So I think there's this kind of feedback loop effect where the government keeps something secret. In that vacuum, people invent conspiracy theories, and then legitimate scholars stay away from it because it's dominated by kooks, and they kind of get run of the whole mill, where, you know, now if we can talk about it openly, the government can show what it has on its books, then maybe we can dispel some of the conspiracy theories and try to learn some new things about our world.
This is fascinating stuff. NBC's Alex Seitz-Wald, thank you.
Thanks.